Sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, of course, heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today I'm going to call this MOM. MOM standing for More on Memory. There is a lot of stuff coming out about memory issues. I can't turn my computer on or pick up any publication without finding information about it. And each and every time I do, I learn another little twist. It appears to be a little morsel of information that makes a puzzle get put together and a protocol emerge. I'm going to share with you some of my most recent gainings and things that I've learned to listen from what I've read. And in keeping with a theme this month, I think a fair theme, we're going to be having Mark Underwood on Monday. Of course, he deals with memory issues, and he's going to be talking about can't remember stuff. CRS, can't remember stuff. Are you suffering from it? And I just think that so much is being said about this that I want to share with you what is emerging. Hopefully, you'll be able to see, as I'm seeing, a really appropriate protocol for dealing with this memory issue in a way that no one single source appears to be doing it. So, today, I'm going to share with you what I found. Look, if you've got something to contribute on the memory issue or on any issue at all, you can take today. We're going to open them up and let you give us a call and find out what's on your mind. Anything, of course, whether it's memory related or not, is okay with me. 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. The subject is MOM, and an acronym for More on Memory, and more keeps emerging. And you'll see what I mean as our hour moves along. Now, with respect to up-and-comings, Friday, we're just going to completely open it up for open phones. I won't have a message, I don't think. I'll promise to stay clear of one and allow you to come in and completely set the agenda. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. On Monday, as I mentioned, we finally rescheduled Mark Underwood. I had him scheduled for the last week of October. I went out of town. Mark was gracious enough to switch his appointed hour with us to this coming Monday. And of course, he's a gentleman who studied the jellyfish, finding out about calcium-binding proteins, put together a product. I think it's a unique product. I think it's one of a kind. A product is called Prevagen. It is available at a lot of health food stores around the area. Also available in a professional line. At many offices, we do carry that professional line. I put the full force of my reputation behind this product because it is so unique. More about that product and how it fits into the overall scheme of MOM, More on Memory, and what to do about it as a protocol does begin to emerge. You'll see what I mean as the hour moves along. Then next Wednesday, and now in keeping completely throwing me out of kilter, the Freedom of Choice and Cancer Therapy Group, who always meets on the third Thursday of the month, will not be meeting on the third Thursday of the month. So when that happens, it does throw things a little bit askew. But their guest will bring it all together. I know this gentleman. He came to Pittsburgh once for one of the conferences I had held down at Station Square. He was a hit of show. We brought him on before he came to Pittsburgh, and he was a great guest then. We're going to bring him on next Wednesday. We're talking about Charlie the Fox. Charlie Fox is going to be the featured speaker up at the Freedom of Choice and Cancer Therapy Group. Not third Thursday, because I know it's going to screw you up too. It's second Thursday. It's going to be next Thursday evening. Everything else stays the same place, same time, which is the Days Inn, just south of Butler, right-hand side of the road there. You can't miss it. And he kicks it off at 7 o'clock, as is usually the case. But it's second Thursday, not third Thursday. And in keeping with what I always try to do with Sylvia and the guests that she brings in town, we'll have Charlie Fox here with us the preceding day, which would be next Wednesday on the 10th. His theme is pretty much always the same. I'm not so sure that it was, as is written here, never be sick again, is what he's going to be talking about, and how to reverse the aging process, and talking about the cholesterol hoax and garlic, and just a whole list of things that he'll be discussing both with us to sort of titillate you to go on up and see him. And he's high energy, folks, I got to tell you. And then hopefully you'll go up and avail yourself of the opportunity to see him in the flesh on the 11th. The following week, on Monday, new guest coming up, wrote a book, Silent Enemy, Environmental Issues of One Woman's Search for a Cure. Her name is Faye Houston. Looking forward to discussing her book, these environmental issues. Of course, having Rick Hill with us on Monday brought the theme back on point as it had originally done when he was first with us quite a while ago. He's talking about environmental issues within the home and how to use air purification systems and the like to clear up the bombardment of these kinds of toxic agents around you at all times. So we're going to find out what her twist, talking about Faye Houston, her twist is on how her own personal issues and personal saga with respect to how they affected her was identified and reversed, I'm sure, when we have her with us on the 15th. Also, new guest scheduled for the 17th, which would be 2 Wednesdays from now. His name is Dr. Gregory Smith. I've never spoken to him. I hope to do so today. He's an anesthesiologist that directs a very large chronic pain facility out in L.A. And he has a unique twist. So many of those who are in chronic pain end up becoming addicted to pain medications. And he has a very large facility out there with, I'm told, I'm going to check on this, a lot of the stars coming to him because, well, they are addicted. And he's got a unique program we're going to discuss. And the intention is to be able to bring that LA program here to the Pittsburgh area. So there is an ulterior hidden motive, but it won't be too hidden. It'll be right up on the table, and you'll learn about what he does out there, how he does it, and if it's something that touches you or members of your family, it may be something that you want to be able to discuss with them and at least avail themselves of up-and-coming new things that we're going to be offering here. So look, full month, everything's well in play, and there'll be more guests added to the list. Also, plenty of ample opportunity for you to call up and get everything off of your chest. That number, 412-825-6262. Be talking about mom today. More on memory. A protocol is emerging, one that just keeps getting improved every time I read some new stuff, and I came across a bunch of it, and I'm going to share it with you today. So, that's pretty much our calendar issues. Now, I'm going to bring this one up. This caught my eye, and as I say, I'm always on the computer, always checking out the blogs. I came across this very interesting title, and it grabbed me here because it's the date is real important. November 2nd. This was out in the blogosphere yesterday. This is for a blurb put out by Dr. Elaine Shatner. She is an oncologist and medical educator and a breast cancer survivor. Anyway, her blurb caught my eye because it went something like this. Here it is, folks. Breast cancer fatigue syndrome is harmful to patients. Now, she goes in to talk about how, here we are, we've just ended the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You know, every month. We talk about it here on the show. Our fountain turns pink, There's pink everywhere, and she identifies a pretty unique syndrome she's referring to as breast cancer fatigue syndrome. She goes so far as to use the acronym BCFS, breast cancer fatigue syndrome, as the acronym for it. And she elaborates on some points that I think are right on and I'd never heard discussed before. See if you agree with some of the things she mentioned. She says breast cancer fatigue syndrome, BCFS, may be setting into our collective consciousness. This newly named, unofficial, and insidious condition affects individuals who become desensitized to all things having to do with breast cancer. Now, if you think about it, as much as you have been bombarded, not just here, but everywhere you turn, there was pink for an entire month, and there'll continue to be every October, pink for an entire month. This desensitization process that she's speaking of actually has a lot of merit. That's why it caught my eye. It says the list of topics people shy away from now, this because of desensitization, include breast cancer screening, and in particular, mammography. Boy, I actually hope that's the case. If mammography is the tool being purported, and it is the one being promoted, purported, and fully supported by the conventional medical community. I think I've seen mammography fatigue. I've seen ladies coming into my office who, when you mention Breast Cancer Awareness Month and mammograms, just their eyes look to the ceiling. And it's as if, oh geez, if I hear that one more time, I'm going to scream. Also, on the list of topics that people shy away from, she says, she's an oncologist, chemotherapy, and new, less toxic, targeted therapies. These are the smart bombs that are being created by our conventional medical community. Issues women face after treatment like estrogen depletions, feelings of sexual inadequacy, reduced bone density, and fear of recurrence are, well, better not to discuss. So says this Dr. Shatner, Dr. Elaine Shatner, an oncologist, and that's what she must be seeing in her patients. She says, pink distracts us from the real thing. Tumors that kill tens of thousands of ordinary mothers, sisters, daughters, friends, in the prime of their lives. At the same time, it serves as a meaningful surrogate. And it's easy to say you stick all of the silly ribbons or that the tone of breast cancer awareness has become shallow and too commercial. It would be harder and very un-PC, politically correct, to say, I'm tired of thinking about breast cancer. Can we talk about something else now? So we trash the ribbons and chastise their distributors instead. This breast cancer syndrome, never heard it identified before, never really saw it in black and white. I think the gal has stumbled on something that I have observed and never really identified it for what it really was. There is a fatigue out there. It certainly is at its height, I believe, as I now look back over the years and look back over this past month. I believe October is exasperating. The article goes on to say that if you're in your home and a commercial comes on for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, women will just dart away from the television. They'll go to the kitchen. They'll have a snack. They don't want to hear anymore. This breast cancer fatigue syndrome, I believe, is real. I believe we should commend Dr. Elaine Shatner for identifying it, and I thought I'd bring it to you today because I had never heard about it before. Well, as they usually do, they always have to come up with a syndrome to name everything that occurs in medicine. I guess this is as deserving as any other syndrome I've ever read about before. Thought I'd share it with you. Hope you appreciate it. Breast cancer fatigue syndrome is certainly in play on November 2nd when the article came out, and it's November 3rd, and I got to think that the fatigue is still well entrenched. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little foray. Let's take a short break. When we come back, Mom is on the agenda today. Not your mom, not my mom, but more about memory. There appears to be a lot of stuff coming out everywhere you turn. I'll share with some share with you some of this new information and a protocol. I have a hidden meeting, a hidden agenda. A protocol is emerging. I'll share that with you too. Be back in a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Fruit of the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit of the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Fruit of the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on this Wednesday post-election day. I mean, I was up to all hours. Well, I'm a political junkie, folks. That's just the way I am. My son said, hey, have a wonderful election day, and I did. I don't know how it turned out for you, and I won't even share with you how I feel it turned out for my perspective, but you can't deny it was an interesting evening, and it's now in the history books. Today, spending some time with you as I usually do, what has struck me, and I'm constantly on the internet, constantly picking up, reading literature, and I got to tell you that the issue of Alzheimer's, memory loss, and all of those items related to it, you cannot go to a blogosphere. You cannot dial up any health-related publication and not see that this particular subject is front and center. Now, a pattern seems to be emerging, at least from my perspective. One I think I'll share with you. Of course, this is in keeping with knowing full well that next Monday Mark's going to be back with us. His particular approach, I believe, because I think it's a one-of-a-kind product, deals with this calcium binding issue, calcium binding proteins that he says are lacking as we age, and jellyfish, which he studied, appears to be able to provide us with these calcium binding proteins. A product emerged called Prevagen. We're going to be talking all about this Prevagen, how I discovered it, how effective it is in the research that he's done. And he has done research, which is why I really like bringing Mark Underwood aboard with us frequently to let you know there's science behind what the gentleman brings to you. Now, I put this in a category of how not, when talking about Prevagen and the calcium binding protein issue, how not to allow your brain to break down and lead you to an Alzheimer's situation, a memory loss situation. In fact, I find others who have written about it, and I put them in the same category of how not to allow your brain to break down. Now, I've got a hidden reason for doing this because I'm going to switch out on you as we move along the hour today. And there's a distinct break now in the information I'm reading, which actually allows you to, after it is broken down, to build it up. And that's what I want to share with you by the conclusion of our hour today. Let's talk about some of the other items I've come across when it comes to advice to provide to the reader on how to avoid, how not to allow your brain to break down and lead to memory issues. And these turn out to be ones that when you hear them, you're going to go, well, yeah, I've heard that before. And it appears to always be, if not an expanded list, a compendium of the same. Here's what I mean. I'm not quoting from a list put together. Here was the title of the article: 5 ways. Not, you know me, sucker for a list. I always love lists. 5 ways to keep your brain active as you age. I think that's in a category of how not to allow these calcium binding proteins to break down. That's on one side of the equation. So these are proactive. These are prior to. These are things you can do now while you're feeling pretty good about yourself and don't think you have any memory issues at all. Let's see what the 5 ways are. The number 1 way, she says. Her name is Delia Lloyd, and she's a psychologist. Anyway, she writes, the first one is work. Okay, work. We're all working. Those that don't, if you're not working, you don't have a way to deal with your time on a daily basis. This is a big no-no, at least as far as the list that I'm reading, because your time has got to be productive. You have to perform. You have to have a function or duty. And so you don't actually have to work, but you better have a brain activity that allows you to be productive. This is pretty much universal. I find it to be found on most lists, and you'll see it compares that way with a couple of lists I'm bringing to you today. The number 2, she said, the first one was work. The second one is walk. There is a physical activity component. And walking every day, at least 30 minutes, between 30 minutes and an hour. This is not running. This isn't jogging. This isn't that kind of activity. It's just walking, period. Number 3, she says, be social. I guess they don't want you to be cloistered somewhere, not interacting with others. That would not be good. If you had to spend your time alone, and whether or not it was with you don't interact with your own family, or you don't interact with members of extended family or friends, this would be a negative. I find this to be a common thread in most of the what to-do lists are, and I still put them in the category of ways to keep your brain active and not allow it to break down. Number 4 on her list was absolutely appropriate for the time and age. She says, use the internet. Well, I think what she's getting at is be exposed to information. Bombard your computer, your own brain, with a host of information that is so readily available via the internet. And so I can appreciate why that's on the list. And then she says, number 5, do EFA. EFA, I made the little acronym, but what it really stands for, eat fish a lot. So now we're talking about eating fish that contains all these essential fatty acids, which also stands for EFAs. So the acronym EFA goes a couple different ways. We've always known it as an acronym for essential fatty acids. Now you can actually tag a little phrase with it, eat fish a lot. That's our list of 5 ways to keep your brain active as you age. And that's pretty much a basic list. They get more extensive. Let me share with you a list of things to do. This is written by an MD. I got this on Huffington Post. By the way, a lot of stuff out there in Huffington Post. Matthew Edlund, medical doctor, director of interesting group called that he directs called the Circadian Medicine Center. I don't know where that is, but it does have a catchy title to it. Also the author of a book entitled The Power of Rest. And he puts his own list together, a list of things to do, essentially to keep your brain active as you age. Let's see what his list has. Here we go. Number 1, he says, walk. Well, there's a crossover. Delia Lloyd had walking in her list. He's got it in his. Number 2, sleep. You have to have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. The rest component comes in. Remember his book entitled The Power of Rest. He says it's a very important component. It's one that was not mentioned in the previous list. Number 3, he says, get out in nature. Well, he agrees that by doing, walking out in nature, soaking up the panoramic vision that nature brings you, I'm guessing, is more important than like walking on a treadmill. Getting out there, getting the aroma of nature, taking in the panoramic scenery of nature is very stimulating and improves mood. He says it resets immunity, and if you go outside, hey, you can't deny this, you will increase your vitamin D level, depending on what time of the year you are outside. In the number 4 category, it says, make it more creative. Make your life more creative. New books, visit, little suggestion, she's like, visit a Latin grocery. Hey, I'd love to visit a Latin grocery. Could you please tell me where one is? Watch kids, and after you hand them a new toy. These are supposedly to watch what transpires in front of you would be new input information, which he says is vital, and it would make your life more creative. And another component of his list, he says, use quick, active rest techniques. Now, his whole thing is the rest issue. Remember the book, once again, The Power of Rest, but it's included here twice. He thinks it to be awful important, and it wasn't included in the previous list of 5, so I'll mention it here. I won't get into the fact that he actually says there are 4 different kinds of rest. That's a little too much for our discussion right now. You can always check with Dr. Matthew Edlund, MD, from the Circadian Medicine Center, and read more about this if you so desire. He brings another point up in the number 6 category. He says, use your body clocks. He says that in the course of the day, aspects of your brain function better for some purposes at hours of the day and function better for other purposes at different hours. He says your short-term memory, why, that's best right out of the chute in the morning. That's when you're most creative. He says your short-term memory is at its best first thing in the morning. You should then, according to him, plan those activities that are going to involve short-term memory at those times of the day. He says long-term memory, that's an evening matter. And that's to be spent with family and friends. And so I'd never heard what times of the day that the circadian rhythm issue, after all, remember, his group, Circadian Medicine Center, would espouse something along the lines of times of the day, your biological clock, when you're best at doing things. I just had never known that short-term memory was best in the morning and long-term best in the evening. And then he says, pay attention to attention. He says the brain only does one thing at a time. You can focus, or you can concentrate, or you can think, but those are 3 different activities, and you can't do too many things at one time, or you overload the circuits. These are items that Matthew Edlund wrote about in his book, The Power of Rest. Actually includes Wester a couple of times. But they're in the category of what to do about memory, how to maintain memory and not allow it to break down. This, I believe, is the idea behind a product called Prevagen, giving you calcium binding proteins so as not to allow your brain function to deteriorate. And in the words of the Leah Lloyd, 5 ways to keep your brain active, and Matthew Edlund's 7 ways to do the same, a pattern emerges. I don't think, well, a couple things are very interesting there. You may have heard lists like this before, but I'm going to swing to another list because I believe a new dawn is emerging in the medical realm, which points to how you can take somebody already tattered with memory issues and build them up. That's a new approach. I think it's one that's going to get a lot of attention. We're going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to be talking to you about the newest research provoking new entrants into this field on how to get it back. Not how to not lose it, how to get it back. We'll be back in a moment to talk about it.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Here on this Wednesday morning version of the show, in a way, we are opening it up to you. You can call up and knock on the door and bring anything to our attention that you'd like. 412-825-6262 is the number to do that. I'm going to do a little bit of a rant today, sharing with you some of the things I've found. But, of course, if you found something yourself, or if you have a query that you'd like to bring to the forefront, how about using that number, and we'll just divert our attention momentarily and get your issues dealt with. A lot of times, if I don't know the answer, boy, the listeners certainly will. 412-825-6262. So today, talking about mom, more about memory, and following a theme that has been pervasive in all that I read, which is how to prevent memory loss from occurring. And I actually think that in each of all the cases that are brought to us, once memory loss has occurred, I think it's pretty tough to anticipate getting it back with all of what I've read on these lists. I think these lists are the preventative side of the equation. And I think That's wonderful. I believe that those kind of strategies are extremely helpful, and I hope all of you out there use all of them or some of them in order to take control of your own personal situation and prevent any loss of memory in your own constitutional approach to how you handle life every single day. Now, I read the blogs yesterday, and boy, when this name comes up, it absolutely gets my attention. Many of you, when I tell you about this gentleman, are going to immediately know who I'm talking about. Why? Well, he's been to Pittsburgh, has a fond spot in his heart for us. He's been on my radio show many times. He is a really well-known and well thought of neurologist. His name is Dr. David Perlmutter. And I came across on the blogosphere yesterday a new thing that David has put out. Whenever David speaks, I listen. I listened when we brought him here to Pittsburgh way back. I'm guessing this was 1998, 1999, something like that, when we brought him here. And he has been a great friend ever since. At the time, his big thing, and you're going to remember this, was treating things like Parkinson's disease. Remember, he is a board-certified neurologist, and he is as much a conventional thinking neurologist as he is a avant-garde and free-thinking neurologist. But he was a gentleman who used hyperbaric oxygen chambers, if you can remember. He's the one that taught us, and boy, do I remember it well, too. After a stroke, you have an area, he described it like it was a target, like a bow and arrow target, with concentric circles. You know, the dead center, the court, the most points scored is the dead center, and then as you move out from it on one of those, lesser and lesser points the further away you get from the center. Well, he said, and there's some repeating now, that the previously held understanding of strokes was that an area of the brain died. And it can never, once it died, it can never return to normal function. Well, as he proved that that is in fact not the case, that there are neurons in the dead center of the stroke area, yes, that did die. But it's the further you move out from the center in these concentric circles, the neurons are not dead. The neurons, David said, are on idle. And they'll remain on idle unless you do something very drastic in order to allow them to regenerate. That word regenerate, by the way, is probably the key word of my discussion with you today. But back then, regenerate to the point that they could function appropriately once again. And I think it was amazing to learn from David back then, while he was doing this initial work that he brought to us here at Pittsburgh, one of the conferences we held, and then he brought on our radio show every time we brought him to you so that he could speak about this on the air, is that the time frame that you have to act is rather generous. And he said anywhere up to 10 to 15 years after the event, those neurons from a stroke, which are on idle, are still revivable. And I believe that was the ray of sunshine and hope coming through the windows. There's so much in the conventional medical community has told us about stroke that, geez, once you have a stroke, given, some physical therapy, occupational therapy, a few weeks after the stroke, what you're left with is what you're left with. Because the prevailing opinion was that any area involved in the stroke was dead, and it could not be revived, and in fact, that's the way things were going to be from here on out. Well, David Perlmutter said, that's not the case. That is not what happens, that these neurons get put on idle, they don't die, and while on idle, they can't work, they won't function. You'll have to be able to get them off idle. How do you do it, he said? Hyperbaric oxygen and a new field of medicine. Well, not new. Hyperbaric oxygen has been around for a long time. But a new application for the use of hyperbaric oxygen became well entrenched in a scientific way with David's discovery. down in Naples, Florida, which is where David hails from. He's got a very large facility down there with multiple hyperbaric oxygen chambers, and he treats those afflicted with neurological problems at his facility, and it's a major videos to show us in the like. All right, so that's David Perlmutter. I have to, whenever I bring up his name, end up talking incessantly about his contributions, because they've been, even in my own sphere, very helpful to me in how I can approach and how I can take a look at these problems. So I'm very appreciative of David's work. Well, David's into some new work, and that's what really caught my eye. And because there's so much in the blogosphere about memory issues, when David speaks, we all listen, or at least we should. I certainly do listen. He's got a new book coming up. I'll want to get it. You'll want to get it. His up-and-coming book is going to be entitled Power Up Your Brain. And a little blurb from, I'm guessing that book is what makes the blogosphere today. It goes something like this, and I believe it brings a new dimension to this issue of memory loss and what to do about it. He says in his article, handwritten by him, starts out by a quote. This quote is from a Dr. Santiago Ramon Cajal. It comes from a book written by him in 1928 entitled Degeneration and Regeneration in the Nervous System. The quote is this: in adult centers, the nerve paths are something fixed, ended, and immutable. Everything may die, nothing may be regenerated, and I want to underline, nothing may be regenerated. That is the prevailing thought, or has at least been the prevailing thought in medicine. That goes along and in keeping with what I told you, the issue of a stroke brought, and still does bring, to the medical community, whereby they say, hey, that area of the brain is dead, and nothing can be done about it. In scientific terms, the Cajal quote from 1928, everything may die, nothing may be regenerated, is, I believe, what is now taking a twist. He says, David goes on, this long-held tenet, first proposed by Professor Cajal, held that brain neurons were unique because they lacked the ability to regenerate. However, things look like they're changing. In 1998, David went on to write, the journal Nature Medicine published a report indicating that neurogenesis, there's a term, neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells, does indeed occur in humans. Someone by the name of Sharon Begley, I don't know her, in her book, Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain, the discovery overturned generations of conventional wisdom in neuroscience. The conventional wisdom is you can't regenerate neurons. Neurons, once they're dead, they're dead. The human brain is not limited to the neurons it's born with, or even neurons that fill in after the explosion of the brain in young children. What the researchers discovered was that within each of our brains there exist a populations of neural stem cells. This is a new concept, folks, which are continually replenished and can differentiate into brain neurons. And simply stated, we're all experiencing brain stem cell therapy every moment of our lives by virtue. This is a brand new concept. I believe he'll be elaborating in his book. There's going to be a new term laid on you. The term is BDNF. What is BDNF? Well, as one might expect, the process of neurogenesis is controlled by DNA. A specific gene codes for the production of a protein. The protein's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF is going to be something that you're going to hear a lot about in the up-and-coming future in the world of medicine, because it's now been discovered. It is an actual protein that can be detected, and it plays a key role in creating new neurons. These studies reveal decreased BDNF in Alzheimer's patients, as well as a variety of other neurological conditions, including epilepsy, depression, schizophrenia, and so forth. So fortunately, many of the factors that influence our DNA to produce BDNF factors are under our direct control. Another concept that I believe is brand new and allows you to regenerate nerve, and it's under your control. You can make it happen. A new message. The gene that turns on BDNF is activated by a variety of factors, including, and here they come, a new list. The list is, this is the very list I want to share with you today. I'll spend some time on each one of these items when we return. But here comes the list. Number one, physical exercise. Well, how about that? We've seen that before. Number two, a new category. Hadn't heard of this one. Caloric restriction. Number three, curcumin and omega-3 fat. And number four, DHA. Hey, let's talk about each of them. It's a new list. It's coming from David Perlmutter, and it takes on a brand new approach, never discussed before, how you can regenerate neurons once they've been destroyed. Be back in a moment with more of that story coming from David Perlmutter.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Fruit of the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit of the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Fruit of the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHP 620, of course, each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. We're here in this post-election day, a Wednesday version of the show, and bring to you some of the blogosphere on an issue you just can't avoid. Anytime you open up any magazine, memory issues seem to occupy some portions of, a lot of times, a lot of portions of the articles found within the context of that publication. And it's certainly in the blogosphere, it's just a mess. So trying to make some sense of this and bringing it all together to you today, I, in thinking about it, saw that there was a division in how things can now be worked with respect to memory loss. There are things to do that will enable you to prevent memory loss from occurring, but now there appears to be emerging things to do in order to regain your memory once you are losing it and once it has essentially been lost. And I believe that's where we have really failed with respect to the IDEAL program. You know, the city of Pittsburgh has really been in the news when it comes to Alzheimer's because of the development and the discovery of something called Pittsburgh factor. And I can recall the guy that was on the Kelsey Grammer show, that little skinny guy, the name eludes me right now, but he's been the spokesperson for Alzheimer's. And when there was a special on the show, on the TV, 4 or 5 years ago, they tried to publish the fact that the TV show was going to come up and that everybody needed to stay tuned, and that if you have Alzheimer's, your family members, you want to watch this show because they're going to be giving you some vital information about the disease. Turned out when I watched that, and I've shared that watching of that show with you many times in the past. I bring it up now because it was the most depressing show I ever saw, ever. And the reason why is that Alzheimer's, they said, yeah, we got this thing called Pittsburgh factor now. We can tell if you have Alzheimer's, and that's really great. We're so happy that we can do that. Of course, if you have it, we can't do anything about that. It's unfortunate, but we really need, no one needs to really talk to you, the person who's suffering from Alzheimer's, because we can't do a thing about it. What we want to do is we want to talk to your family members to allow them to get better caretakers for you, because you poor guy, are not going to be able to take care of yourself too much longer. Now that was, in a cynical way, the message that I remember from watching that show. By the way, I don't think I'm too far off of what that message has been up till today. I think it's still pretty much, you poor son of a gun. We need to talk to your family because they're the people that are going to have to be controlling you. You're not going to be able to control yourself. A heck of a terrible message. I believe this is everybody's big fear. There are plenty of ways that as we age, we're going to be confronting our passing of time, and this is one of the scariest ways. I understand it. But now a new concept enters into the mix, and because I look at this from David Perlmutter and realize that their whole new field of medicine may be developing and emerging in front of our eyes that allow us to do something, not just before we lose our memory or have memory issues, but after it occurs too. David says that there are ways to build up this stuff called BDNF. That's the buzzword. Those are the words that form this acronym, which stands for Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor. BDNF, increasing it will increase your ability to regenerate neurons. Neurons that are either on idle or are dead. And this was the concept laid down back in 1928 by the quote that I gave you, and it had been pretty much holding true throughout all these years as something you could do nothing about. Well, now David says, there's a powerful message here. There are factors within our grasp that represent choices that we can make to turn on the gene for neurogenesis, which in turn turns on the production of BDNF. There are 4 things he says you can do. Let's quickly go through them. I think the first one is the one that all the other lists were working on. I mean, they didn't know that BDNF was being formed. They never had the science to understand that there was a protein that could be made and is generated by your own DNA that allows for this. Now we see that whether it's physical exercise, emotional stimulation, walks in nature, whatever it is, these are the things that actually can stimulate the formation of BDNF. Laboratory rats, and this is the science side, I always have to go to the rats that they studied. Laboratory rats that exercise have been shown to produce far more BDNF in their brains compared to sedentary animals. And there's a direct relationship between the elevation of BDNF levels in these animals and their ability to learn, as one might expect due to the increase in the BDNF. With this understanding of the relationship of BDNF to exercise, researchers in a report of the Journal of American Medical Association entitled Effective Physical Activity in Cognitive Function in older adults at risk for Alzheimer's disease found that early individuals engaged in regular physical exercise, now get a load of this, for a 24-week period had an improvement of an astounding, I had to relook at this, now here it comes, 1,800% increase on measures of memory, language ability, attention, and other important cognitive functions. 1,800% as compared with a similar group that was matched that were not involved in an exercise program. That exercise issue is big, but it appears it's just one of a number of things that build up BDNF. Let's move on. The number 2 of things to do. I had never seen this before. Caloric restriction. And they say that you decrease, in January 2009, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences published a study. Caloric restriction improves memory in elderly humans, and a German study showed that imposing a 30% caloric reduction decreased or increased the production of BDNF. Now, I got too carried away. I'm hearing bongos in the background. I've introduced 2 of a list of 5. There are 3 more to go. I promise to bring them to you on Friday when I unveil what I believe is the new protocol to follow for memory loss issues. So, see you then. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.